Hello everyone, and it's time to decide the 2022 Pokemon of the Year. You're aware that it's February, correct? I am. Okay, just making sure we're aware how late it is. Okay, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw. And if you've been following my channel, you've noticed some of the polls that have gone up over the past month or so, asking you to vote on the 2022 Pokemon of the Year. And now we have our final 5. While you're watching this video, there will be a poll up on my channel. I'll have a link to it in the description where you can make the final vote for the Pokemon of the Year. We have 5 roles inside of Pokemon Unite, and all 5 of them are going up against each other: attacker, speedster, defender, supporter, all-rounder, and we're going to decide which Pokemon is the Pokemon of the Year. Let me tell you how we got here and what your 5 finalists are. We started our voting with the category of Speedsters. Our first 3 going against each other were Absol, Gengar, and Talonflame. And Gengar happened to win this first round in a landslide, taking 51% of the overall vote. Obviously, people were very, very scared of this spooky ghost, and a good Gengar is so difficult to deal with. Our next 3 speedsters going at it were Dodrio, Zoroark, and Zeraora. Once again, we had a bit of a landslide, while the 3-headed, 3-hatted, 3-bow-tied bird won this category with 50% of the vote. I think Dodrio is one of the most dominant speedsters, if not the best speedster in the game right now, so I wasn't super surprised to see it, even though it did make its way into the game about halfway through the year. And if you remember, we had the Absol meta, which was a nightmare. Finally, the 2 had to duke it out: Gengar v Dodrio in the final vote to see which speedster would make it into our top 5. And you know what? Gengar won this thing. Gengar is an amazing Pokemon. The first year it was in Pokemon Unite, it was kind of broken, and then it fell off, and then all of a sudden it got incredibly good again with some nice buffs, and now Gengar has made it to the finalist for Speedster of Pokemon of the Year. I honestly thought it might have been Dodrio, but the community has spoken. On to our next category. Oh, before we move on, I should tell you about today's sponsor. That's right, we have a sponsor. A sponsor? Oh, that's incredible, boss. Yeah, it's really cool that we have such amazing sponsors. Today's sponsor is change that is so hot it feels like it's been inside your car all day. Do you love change, or coins if you will, but you wish that they were hot, like they've been inside of a hot car all day? Well, head on over to changethatishot.com/cowboyset. Oh no. What? They went out of business. No! Yeah. Well, considering that they are out of business, I think it's as good a time as any to remind you that you can become a member of my channel here, and I would love you for frickin' life if you did. You get a cool little badge next to you, you get to use different emotes that we have here, live and on the comments, which I would appreciate. If you are a member already, thank you so much. If you're considering becoming a member, how about you do it right now? I'll wait. Okay, I won't wait. Moving on. Our second category were the all-rounders. Our first matchup, 4 big baddies: Charizard, Garchomp, Lucario, and Machamp. And I actually did not know which way this was going to go. I thought Garchomp had a really, really strong possibility of moving forward here, but to no one's surprise, Lucario crushed it. Lucario got almost 50% of the vote once again. I think Lucario has, since release, been an insane Pokemon. We've seen it World Championships. We've seen dominate so many games. Lucario is amazing, and it's no surprise it moved on. All-rounder round 2. All-rounder round 2. All-rounder round 2. It kind of sounds like a Sally sold seashells by the seashell situation. All-rounder round 2 had a Azumarill, Zarina, Dragonite, and Aegislash facing off, and once again we had a clear winner right here. I thought it might have been Dragonite, maybe even Azu, but Zarina really taking the crown, the queenly majesty, moving on to the next phase of all-rounder competition, and it was so dominant at the World Championships, so it is kind of fair. I mean, teams with Zarina made it all the way to the finals. Then our final grouping of all-rounders had Buzzwole, Urshifu, Tyranitar, and Scissor. And this was really interesting because with Urshifu and Scissor, you had 2 completely different movesets. With Buzzwole, you had a Pokemon that I think everybody loved but couldn't figure out how to make work for a really long time. And then of course you had Tyranitar. Who is Tyranitar? Who easily won this category. because Tyranitar is insane. Also, to be fair, Urshifu came out like right at the end of the year, so it'd be weird if it was Urshifu winning, but Tyranitar crushed it right here. Moving on to our final round of voting between T-Tar, Zarina, and Lucario, and the winner was T-Tar. Tyranitar crushed it. The highest win percentage of any Pokemon inside of this poll. It had a 58% of the vote, even though it was going up against two powerhouse Pokemon. Tyranitar is clearly looked at as one of the best Pokemon in the game and a front runner for a possible winner of the Pokemon of the Year. Our next category are the supporters, who are unbelievably stacked and amazing inside of Pokemon Unite. We first had LD, Mr. Mime, Wigglytuff, and Blissey go against each other, and while I thought Blissey might win this thing, even LD I thought had a chance. Poor Wiggly. Mr. Mime ran away with it. And let's face it, we had a moment in time where Mr. Mime, and it wasn't just a moment in time, it was a long period of time, where Mr. Mime was so incredibly dominant. It needed, I think, 3 separate waves of nerfs to stop this Pokemon. Mr. Mime moved on to the next round here, while our following round had Sableye, Clefable, and the Hoopster actually going against each other. This poll was taken during the situation where Clefable was unbelievably difficult to deal with. And while I actually think Hoopa was probably more of a presence inside of Pokemon Unite, there's no question that Sableye was a whole freaking thing. And it moved on, getting 64% of the vote. And now it was just up to Sableye v Mime. And guess what? That little gremlin did it again, getting another 64% of the vote, moving on to represent the supporter category for Pokemon of the Year. It was now time for our defenders to square off in the voting realm, where Slowbro, Crustle, Snorlax, and Blastoise all went up against each other, and Slowbro actually took this first round. I think people in the community were very on the pulse of what was happening, because Slowbro was drastically moving up the ranks as the premier defender, and you saw it here in this voting, taking this first round. While our second round of defenders had Trevenant, Greedent, and Mamoswine go against each other, I thought Trevenant and Greedent would have a hard time in this category because Mamoswine is so freaking good right now, and both Trev and Greedent are very specific Pokemon, and you know what? I was right. Mamoswine crushed it, getting 63% of the vote right here and moving on. It's not surprising. It's so amazing early. It seems to, unlike many 3-stage evolutions, it's good at every single point of the game. I love Mamo right now as it moved on to face off against Slowbro, which I think was going to be tough competition for it. Mamoswine v Slowbro in the finals of the defenders, and Mamoswine somehow freaking pulled it off. I actually think Slowbro meta-wise is getting more play, but there's no question that Mamoswine is just one of the funnest Pokemon, one of the best defenders. I freaking love it, and it's going to represent the defender category for Pokemon of the Year. Time to talk attackers. Our first set of attackers going against each other were Venusaur, Cramorant, Cinderace, and Alolan Ninetales. Cramorant and Alolan Ninetales sadly did not get a majority of the votes here, while Cinderace and Venusaur were incredibly close. Only a 2% difference between these two Pokemon, but Venusaur pulls ahead and gets the win. I actually think this is pretty well deserved for Venusaur, although the attacker category is crazy with so many different types of Pokemon and playstyles. Venusaur wins this first round. Round 2 of the attacker category, we had Greninja, Pikachu, Sylveon, and Gardevoir. And you know what? This one was not particularly close, as Greninja crushed the competition with a massive Water Burst Shuriken and a Surf to clean them all up, getting a triple KO over the competition, taking 50% of the vote. Greninja, a tough customer to beat. Our third section of attackers had Duraludon, Decidueye, Espeon, and Delphox. And this one I thought was going to actually be a little bit closer, but Delphox really ran away with this thing. I think Delphox, after getting the Flame Charge buffs, really came into its own as a Pokemon, and it just started to dominate everything inside of Pokemon Unite. It's even seeing a ton of play at the highest level in the World Championship, so I think Delphox is in an amazing position right now. Even with incoming nerfs, I still think think this Pokemon is going to be amazing because it's also getting an incoming buff. Finally, we had Mew, Glaceon, and Dragapult, and I didn't expect this to go any other way. Mew wins this category. In fact, I expected Mew to win the vote for all of the attackers in general. I mean, it's Mew. It's crazy. It was a whole event coming out with Athea Sky Ruins. It really felt like the year was kind of owned by Mew. So as we head into our final attacker round of voting, we have Delphox, Mew, Venusaur, and Greninja all going up against each other. The top of the top attackers all vying to see who will be number one. And I was honestly shocked. I was shocked. Delphox won with 31% of the vote. Greninja right behind with 29% of the vote, followed by Mew, and then finally Venusaur. I thought Venusaur was going to have a tough time, but I honestly thought Mew was going to take this category. However, it is Delphox who is moving on to our final vote. So, our 5 finalists for Pokemon of the Year are from the Speedster category, Gengar. From the Defender category, Mamoswine. From the All-Rounder category, Tyranitar. From the Supporter category, Lil Gremlin himself, Sableye. And from the Attacker category, we have Delphox. Again, there will be a link below to where you can vote for the Pokemon of the Year, and I will make an announcement with who the community votes on very, very soon. I want to give time for everybody to vote for their Pokemon. Also, down in the comments, I would love to hear from you why you think a certain Pokemon should be the Pokemon of the Year. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. It was pretty fun putting this whole thing together, and I can't wait to see what the community picks. I love you. Yeehaw to you and yours.